Good day everyone, I am JULIETO Orquillano Jr. So I am here to report on to discuss my presentation, Module 4. So let's proceed. So we have here the lesson coverage in Module 4. So the first is the Bureau of Correction, Republic Act 10575, Custody, Security, and Control of Prisoners, Care and Treatment of Prisoners, Release of Prisoners, Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA, Prohibited Act Subjects to Disciplinary Actions, BGMP Republic Act 6975, and Republic Act 9263, treatment of special needs or unusual offenders, emergency plans, movement or transfer of prisoners or detainees, privileges of detainees and sentenced prisoners, the Regional Rehabilitation Center for Youth and Child and Youth Welfare Code, the death row, the rule on the writ of amparo. So the first is the Bureau of Corrections, Republic Act 10575. An act strengthening the Bureau of Corrections, BUCOR, and providing funds. Therefore, being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Section 1, short title. This act shall be known as the Bureau of Corrections Act of 2013. Section 2, Declaration of Policy. It is the policy of the state to promote the general welfare and safeguard the basic rights of every prisoner incarcerated in our national penitentiary. It also recognizes the responsibility of the state to strengthen government capability aimed towards the institutionalization of highly efficient and competent correctional services. Toward this end, the state shall provide for the modernization, professionalization, and structuring of the Bureau of Corrections or BUCOR by upgrading its facilities, increasing the number of its personnel, upgrading the level of qualifications of their personnel, and standardizing their base pay, retirement, and other benefits, making it at par with that of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology or the BJMP. Section 3. Definition of terms. A safekeeping, which is the custodial component of the BUCOR's present correction system, shall refer to the act that ensures the public or including facilities of inmates and their victims, that national inmates are provided with their basic needs, completely incapacitated from further committing criminal acts, and have been totally cut off from their criminal networks or contacts in the free society while serving sentence inside the premises of the National Penitentiary. This act also includes protection against illegal organized armed groups which have the capacity of launching an attack on any camp or any prison camp of the National Penitentiary to rescue their convicted comrade or the forcibly amassed firearms issued to prison guards. So let's proceed. Next is the reformation, which is the rehabilitation component of the BUCOR's present correction system, shall refer to the acts which ensures the public or including families of inmates and their victims that released national inmates are no longer harmful to the community by becoming reformed individuals prepared to live a normal and productive life upon reintegration to the mainstream society. Next. So we have the section 4, which is the mandates of the Bureau of Corrections. So the BUCOR shall be in charge of safekeeping and instituting reformation programs to the national inmates sentenced to more than 3 years. Safekeeping of national inmates. The safekeeping of inmates shall include decent provision of quarters, food, water, and clothing in compliance with established United Nations standards. The security of the inmates shall be undertaken by the custodial force consisting of corrections officers with a ranking system and salary grade similar to its counterpart in the BGMP. Next is reformation of national inmates. The reformation programs which will be instituted by the BUCOR for the inmates shall be the following. First, moral and spiritual program, education and training program, work and livelihood program, sports and recreation program, health and welfare program, and behavior modification program to include therapeutic community. The reformation programs shall be undertaken by professional reformation personnel consisting of corrections technique or technical officers with ranking system and as the salary grades similar to corrections officers. First is correction technical officers are personnel employed in the implementation of reformation programs and those personnel whose nature of work requires proximate or direct contact with inmates. Corrections technical officers include priests, evangelists, pastors, teachers, instructors, professors, vocational placement officers, librarians, guidance, counselors, physicians, nurses, medical technologists, pharmacists, dentists, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, sociologists, social workers, engineers, electricians, agriculturists, veterinarians, lawyers, and similar professional skills relevant to the implementation of inmate reformation programs. Section 5 Operation of the Bureau of Corrections. The Bucor shall operate with a directional structure. It shall undertake reception of inmates through its Directorate for Reception and Diagnostic or DRD. Formerly Reception and Diagnostics Center or RDC provide basic needs and security through its security and operations. The directorates administer reformation programs through its reformation directorates and prepare inmates for reintegration to mainstream society through its Directorate for External Relations or DER, formerly External Relation Division ERD. Letter B. The DRD shall be responsible for the conduct of classification of each and every inmate admitted to the Bucor. Inmates shall be classified according to security risk and sentence. Included in the classification is determining inmates' certain skills or talents, physical, spiritual, social, mental, and psychological evaluation and other behavioral assessments as reference of the DRD in the preparation of individual inmate reformation programs. Aside from those born of the provisions under Rule 8, Part 1, Rules of General Application of the United Nations, standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners and that of the existing regulation of the Bucor on security classification, like for example, maximum, medium, and minimum security risk. Inmates shall also be internally classified by the DRD and segregated according to crimes committed based on the related penal codes such as crimes against persons, crimes against properties, crimes against chastity, so on and so forth, as well as by other related special laws, customs, and immigration laws. From the DRD, the custodial force and reformation personnel of respective security institutions or camps shall be in charge for the security and the implementation of the recommended inmate reformation program of every inmate while serving sentence respectively. Next is letter E. The Directorate for External Relations or DER shall be responsible for pre-release and post-release programs of inmates due for release. The DER shall also classify inmates according to skills acquired for referral and endorsement to appropriate companies or corporations participating in the Bucor on-the-job training programs for newly reformed inmates. The DER shall also evaluate, classify, and apply necessary programs to inmates for readiness to join the mainstream society upon release. Letter F. Apart from handling inmates, the Bucor shall administratively operate like a standard government agency through its administrative directorates with internal control and internal audit units. Next is the Bucor shall employ full computerization in the build-up, maintenance, and transmittal of necessary inmate records to all its prisons and penal farms and other recipient agencies, like example, Board of Pardons and Parole. Section 6. Lands of the Bureau of Corrections. Aside from administrative purposes, all lands shall be used for inmate security, reformation programs, and as a means to promote sustainability, both for income and non-income generating programs, with or without a partner, among non-government organizations, civic organizations, or other government entities, as a way to maximize its assets value for the effective and extensive reformation corrections programs for the national inmates. The Bucor shall have the absolute authority to design, formulate, and implement land use development plans and policies. The Bucor may propose additional penal farms as may be necessary as possible, aside from its existing 7 prison and penal farms, to decongest existing penal institutions and accommodate the increasing number of inmates committed to the agency. All the Bucor lands shall have a certificate of title registered under its name. Section 7. Facilities of the Bureau of Corrections. The Bucor shall operate with standard and uniform design of prisons facilities, reformation facilities, and administrative facilities through all the operating prison and penal farms, such as the following: dormitory, administration building, perimeter or security fences, hospital or infirmary, recreation or multi-purpose hall, training or lecture center, workshop facility, mess hall or kitchen, visiting area, water tank and pump, reception and diagnostic center, and lastly, the service personnel facilities. Section 8. Supervision of the Bureau of Corrections. The Department of Justice, or the DOJ, having the Bucor as a line bureau and as a constituent unit, shall maintain a relationships of administrative supervision with the latter as defined under Section 38, Number 2, Chapter 7, Book 4 of Executive Order Number 292, Administrative Code of 1987, except that the DOJ shall retain authority over the power to review, reverse, revise, or modify the decisions of the Bucor in the exercise of its regulatory or quasi-judicial functions. Next is Section 9. Organization and key positions of the Bureau of Corrections. The Bucor shall be headed by a director who shall be assisted by 3 deputy directors, 1 for administration and 1 for security and operations and 1 for reformation, all of whom shall be appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the Secretary of the DOJ, provided that the director and the deputy directors of the Bucor shall serve a tour of duty to not to exceed 6 years from the date of appointment, provided further that in times of war or other national emergency declared by Congress, the President may extend such tour of duty. The head of the Bucor with the rank of Undersecretary shall have the position and title of Director General of Corrections. The second officers in command of the Bucor with the rank of Assistant Secretary shall have the position and title of Deputy Directors of Corrections. The third officer in command of the Bucor with the rank of Chief Superintendent shall have the position and title of Corrections Chief Superintendent. The fourth officer in the command of the Bucor with the rank of Senior Superintendent shall have the position and title of Corrections Senior Superintendent. The fifth officer in the command of the Bucor with the rank of Superintendent shall have the position and title of Corrections Superintendent. The Department of Budget and Management, or BDM, shall rationalize the existing organizational structure and staffing pattern of the Bucor in accordance with the provision of this Act and relevant compensation and position classification laws, rules, and regulations. So let's proceed to Section 10, Increase of Personnel. The Bucor shall maintain the custodial personnel to inmate ratio of 1:7 and reformation personnel to inmate ratio of 1:24. Hence, it is authorized to increase its manpower to meet such ratio and may continue to increase personnel per percentage rate increase of committed inmates annually or as the need arises. Section 11. Professionalization and upgrading of qualification standards in the appointment of the Bucor personnel. No person shall be appointed as personnel of the Bucor unless one possesses the following minimum qualifications. Number 1, a citizen of the Republic of the Philippines, a person of good moral character, must have passed the psychiatric or psychological, drug and physical tests for the purpose of determining his or her physical and mental health. Number 4 is must possess a baccalaureate degree from recognized learning institution. Number 5 must possess the appropriate civil service eligibility, must not have been dishonorably discharged or dismissed for cause from previous employment. 7 must not have been convicted by final judgment of an offense or crime involving a moral turpitude. And number 8 must be at least 1 meter and 62 centimeters or 1.62 meters in height for male and 1 meter and 57 centimeters for female. Provided that a waiver for height and age requirements or may be granted to applicants belonging to the cultural communities provided. Further, that a new applicant must not be less than 21 or more than 40 years of age. Except for this particular provision, the above enumerated qualifications shall be continuing in character and absence of any one of them at any given time shall be ground of separation or retirement from the service. Section 12. Appointment of personnel to the Bucor. The appointment of the Bucor shall be effected in the following manner. Letter A. Corrections officer to correction chief superintendent appointed by the Director General of Corrections and attested by the Civil Service Commission or CSC. And letter B. Director General of Corrections and Deputy Director of Corrections appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the Secretary of the DOJ with the proper endorsement by the Chairman of the CSC or the Civil Service Commission. So next, Section 13, Lateral Entry of Officer in the Bucor. In general, all original appointments of officers in the Bucor shall commence with the rank of Corrections Inspector, wherein applicants for lateral entry into the Bucor shall include all those with highly specialized and technical qualifications, such as but not limited to civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers, chemists, architects, criminologists, certified public accountants, nurses, physical therapists, dentists, social workers, psychologists, sociologists, guidance, counselors, and teachers. Doctor of Medicine members of the Philippine Bar and chaplain shall be appointed to the rank of Correction Senior Inspector in their particular technical service. Next is Section 14. Professionalization and upgrading of qualification standards in the designation of personnel of the Bucor to K positions. Letter A. No person shall be designated to the following K positions of the Bucor unless one has met the qualifications provided. Section 15. Professionalization and qualifications upgrading program. The DOJ or the Department of Justice shall design and establish a professionalization and qualifications upgrading program for personnel of the Bucor in a coordination with the CEC and the Commission of the Higher Education or CHED through and off-campus education programs or other similar programs within 90 days from the effectivity of this act. Section 16. Attrition system for the personnel of the Bucor. There shall be established a system of attrition for the personnel of the Bucor within 5 years from the effectivity of this act, to be submitted by the said Bureau to the DOJ for approval. Next is Section 17. Promotion 17 for the personnel of the Bucor within 6 months after the effectivity of this act. The Bucor shall establish a system of promotion for the personnel of the Bucor through the following principles. Letter A. Rationalized promotion system. The system of promotion shall be based on the merit and on the availability of vacant ranks in the Bucor staffing pattern. Such systems shall be gender fair so as to ensure that women personnel of the Bucor shall enjoy equal opportunity for promotion as to men. Letter B. Requirements for promotion. Number 1. Any personnel of the Bucor shall not be eligible for promotion to a higher rank unless one has met the minimum qualification standards or the appropriate civil service eligibility set by the CSC and has satisfactorily passed the required psychiatric or psychological drug and physical tests. And number 2, any personnel of the Bucor who has exhibited acts of conspicuous courage and gallantry at the risk of one's life above and beyond the call of duty, or selected as such in nationwide search conducted by any accredited civic organization, shall be promoted to the next higher rank, which is the provided that this shall be validated by the DOJ and the CEC based on the established criteria. Section 18. Performance Evaluation System. There shall be established a performance evaluation system which shall be administered in accordance with the rules, regulations, and standards and a code of conduct for the personnel of the Bucor to be promulgated by the Bucor through the DOJ. Such performance evaluation system shall be administered in such a way as to foster the improvement of the individual efficiency and behavioral discipline, as well as the promotion of organizational effectiveness and commitment to public service. Letter B. The rating system as contemplated herein shall be based on the standards prescribed by the Bucor through the DOJ and shall be considered the result of the annual psychiatric or psychological and physical tests conducted on the personnel of the Bucor. Section 19. Standardization of the base pay and other benefits of the uniformed personnel of the Bucor in order to enhance the general welfare commitment to service and professionalism. Section 20. Retirement benefits. Upon compulsory retirement, any custodial officer from the rank of corrections, chief superintendent and below shall be entitled to retirement benefits computed on the basis of one grade higher than the position last held, provided that the retirement pay shall be subjected to adjustments based on the prevailing scale of base pay of the uniformed personnel in the active service. Section 21. Funding source. The funds required for the implementation of this act, including personal benefits, shall be taken from the budget of the Bucor for the current fiscal year and also from the following. Letter A. Collections from clearance and certification fees, incomes from institutional projects subject to memoranda of agreements or MOAs, contracts or joint venture agreements, and other miscellaneous income or outside MOAs and contracts such as penal farm, agro production, and inmate handicraft industry. Thereafter, such amounts as may be necessary to implement this act shall be included in the Annual General Appropriations Act. Section 22. Implementation. The implementation of this act shall be undertaken in staggered phases but not to exceed 5 years, taking into consideration the financial position of the national government, provided that any partial implementation shall be uniform and proportionate for all ranks. Section 23. Implementing rules and regulations. The DOJ, in a coordination with the Bucor, the CEC, and the DBM, and the Department of the Finance or DOF, shall within 90 days from the effectivity of this act promulgated the rules and regulations necessary to implement the provisions of this act. Section 24. Transitory provisions. The director and 2 incumbent assistant directors shall serve under the terms for which they have been appointed without need of new appointments upon the enactment of this act. Next is Section 25 Annual Report. The Bucor, through the DOJ and the DBM, shall jointly submit to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives an annual report on the implementation of this act. This report shall include information on the application of the budget for the salary and other benefits provided under this act. The DBM, in consultation with the Bucor through the DOJ, shall periodically review and adjust every 5 years the rates of base pay, taking into consideration labor productivity, consumer price index, oil price, and other similar economic indicators as may be determined by the National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA. Section 26. Separability Clause. If any portion or provision of this act is declared unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity and effectivity of the other provisions not affected hereby. Section 27. Repealing Clause. All laws, decrees, orders, rules, and regulations and other issuance or parts thereof which are inconsistent with the provisions of this act are hereby deemed repealed, amended, or modified accordingly. Section 28. Effectivity Clause. This act shall take effect 15 days after its complete publication in Official Gazette or in at least 2 newspapers of general circulation, whichever comes earlier. This act, which is consolidation of the House Bill number 6887 and Senate Bill number 3335, was finally passed by the House of Representatives and the Senate on February 5, 2013 and February 6, 2013, respectively. And it was approved in May 24, 2013 by Benigno S. Aquino III, the President of the Philippines. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much.